There's nothing here.
Check your mute. Art Willis, Kevin Percy. Sorry to call
Open
you out.
plates.
So I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving coming up. I want to say good evening to everyone and thank you all for showing up and giving a shit.
Multiple.
Grassroots intent is community advocacy and community advocation and education. We're comprised of current, retired, and resigned federal wildland firefighters. Regardless of our employment status, our fire family and the health and well-being of wildland firefighters is what drives grassroots to continue our advocacy work. A working and administrative environment that equates to the proper classification, pay, benefits, and care for firefighters is what right looks like. Grassroots is comprised of all volunteers, and it's thanks to the grassroots community that we're able to keep the lights on. Volunteer donations is what allows us to maintain our website, communication channels, and travel. Grassroots is thankful to the organizations that we've been able to build coalitions with and will be the backbone of a unified front as we look towards 2025. In the meantime, we're trying to do everything and anything we can to pass any and all legislation through the current administration and look to build and forge relationships as we look past the current administrations and move into the next. The issues and impacts faced by the federal wildland workforce has ripple effects and implications that negatively impact all levels of government. We'll be doing everything possible to push for reform during the administration and work towards building relationships with the new administration. I believe the coalitions that we built and that we are building will allow us to move forward in a proactive and positive manner. With that, I'm going to start handing it off to our executive board for some brief messaging and recaps before we get into the heart of this meeting, which are the legislative agendas via our legislative director, Jonathan Golden, and the National Federation of Federal Employees. So with that, I'll hand it to Reva Duncan. And again, thank you all for being here tonight.
Thanks, Luke. My name is Reva Duncan. I'm the Vice President of Grassroots Wildland Firefighters. Been on the board since early 2021. And I also want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and thanks for getting on. I know it's probably a little late for some of you. And I also want to say, on a personal note, I live in Asheville, North Carolina, and got impacted by Hurricane Helene. Really different being on the other side of an incident for sure. And I know a lot of folks had a really long fire season, and then a lot of you came out here to help. So that was greatly appreciated, and it's what we do, and I appreciate it, and I know it just extended some folks' season. So thanks for that. Regarding just where we are and what we're going to talk about tonight, I think I say this on every call that we have, that I know some people would rather keep the supplement than get the permanent pay raise because it's less money in their pocket. But folks really need to think about the implications of a permanent pay raise. It's got huge implications for your retirement, for your thrift savings plan contributions. It also, we even have people on our board who've tried to get a mortgage and the bank would not count the supplement because it's not permanent. It's not part of your permanent pay. And so there are a lot of reasons why a permanent pay raise is really going to be a good thing. And we want folks to know that if we get, our permanent pay raise, we're not going to stop there. We're going to keep working because we know it's not enough. But I just want people to think long term. I know some of you younger folks, you got several years to retirement and it's kind of hard to think about that and you need the money right now. We get it. We totally get it. But it's a long game, and permanent pay raise has a lot of benefits. So I'm excited for the night. I think really appreciate everybody signing on tonight and for being great ambassadors. Y'all sharing our posts and our information has been really helpful. Helps us reach a lot of people. So thanks for that. And with that, I'll turn it over to Bobby Scopa, our secretary.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for being here. I want to give kudos to the folks who contribute every month. Your contributions are what's making a lot of this possible. I want to thank the committees. The committees, Luke and Riva and I and Jamie, we're the executive board, but the committees are doing tremendous amounts of work. And so we need to be thankful to them. I'm thankful to them. And if you have any interest in helping, that would be the place to reach out to the folks who run the committees. I want to mention that we're in uncertain times. We don't know what's coming ahead. We can imagine all sorts of terrible things. Let's be patient. I mean, we've been saying that for a while, but we have been so close to some major successes. The executive board has been working really closely with other groups, like Luke mentioned, national groups that are supporting our efforts as well. And the more people, the more different groups that we can get to pull in the same direction. So it's not just the union and grassroots working on this, but we have multiple groups working towards taking care of the firefighters. So that's all going on, and it's going on continuously with multiple different groups. So I would just ask everybody to just be to do what you can when you hear that we need a reach out, please do so. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Luke. Thanks everybody for being here.
Before we jump into the legislative updates via Jonathan Golden and Max Alonso, we'll do a quick comprehensive health and well-being update with Mr. Pete Dutchick, who's been behind the scenes and doing quite a bit, and I'll let him take it from there.
Thanks, Luke. Just quick sound check, no echo. Right on. Thanks. Thanks everyone for being here tonight. Echo everything that's been said thus far, and just really grateful for everyone being here tonight and all the work that you all have put in on a slew of different topics over the last 4 years. With everything we continue to push, none of it's possible without your hard work and your help, and that's true of everything I'm about to talk about right now. So. With that, again, my name is Dutch. I am the current chair of the Comprehensive Health and Wellbeing Committee for Grassroots. We've been together about 4 years, and really our primary focus has been on cancer and cardiovascular coverages, mental health programs, and workplace exposure. So some updates from, I guess, the last 2 months or so. Grassroots, along with 15 other really prominent advocacy organizations, signed a letter requesting Department of Labor push forward female presumptive cancers into the current law and the current policy. So for those that don't know, when DOL originally passed the presumptive cancers through their administrative coverage, followed up by the National Defense Authorization Act, which codified that into law. There are a wide range of cancers on there, but there was notably some cancers missing, and that was female-specific cancers. So specifically ovarian, cervical, and uterine, along with breast cancer as well, which we know is more prevalent among women. So our goal really was to bring that to the attention of Department of Labor, knowing full well that they have been working on that. But our goal was to just try to push that forward. We think it's really important. The GAO study that came out, the report, I think out of 2021 or 2022, mentioned that there were 16% of the wildland fire workforce for both DOI and Forest Service uh, are comprised of females, and we just think it's really important that everybody is covered. Notably, also in that original bill, there was prostate and testicular cancer included, um, but as a matter of equity and just to make sure that everybody is covered, we want to make sure that we push that forward. So we are continuing to reach out to Department of Labor. Keep in mind, really the last 4 years, it has been about the most progressive Department of Labor that we have worked with, in large part to a lot of the connections through NIFI. They've done a lot of really great things for wildland firefighters when it comes to cancer and cardiovascular health. So we hope to, continue to push that forward, and more to come on that. We are continuing to work with researchers, find existing research, and then push that forward with the hope that sooner rather than later, we will have female-specific cancers added to that list. Second update I have, I know a lot of folks have been waiting. There was a summit about a year and a half ago, the Joint Interagency Behavioral Health Program. They brought a bunch of folks together from all realms of fire, professional clinicians. And so we've been working with the national office. They've reached out to us, one, to receive feedback, but also to work with them just to make sure everything is on track. And so what we do know so far is that the program it has been created. They're continuing to build it out in a phased approach. And we really are grateful for the effort that's going on there. They are trying to get as much feedback from the field, but from my perspective, that the topic of firefighter mental health is extremely complex. Mental health at large in America is complex. And so, as they work through and build this program from the ground up, grassroots is doing as much we can to support them. A lot of folks on this call, I know, were involved in authoring or at least working on some of the legislation, and that's hard work. But implementation is really where the rubber hits the road, and there's a lot of hard work that goes on there. So we want to offer the national offices and what they're building as much support as we can. We don't know exactly what that looks like yet. We've had a few meetings thus far, and we're pretty pleased with what we see. And also of note, there are other non-government agencies and advocacy orgs that are involved in that process as well. So the hope is to be able to continue to provide feedback and make sure everything is aligned right and that information is getting out there. But more to come on that. And then lastly, over the course of the summer and into the fall, there's a lot going on both in the structure world as it relates to wildland fire, but also in our community as well. There's been a lot of talk of respirators, clean cab protocols, how to thoroughly and properly clean your gear. These are all things that I wish I knew about 20 years ago, just to limit exposure where possible. And so these discussions are happening whether we're there or not, and we want to make sure that we are part of that process and also involve a lot of these other advocacy orgs as well. So with that, we have been to a few symposiums to where we're working with researchers and then also working with some of those other advocates just to see where we fit in and make sure what's coming out is realistic. And I want to make clear with this topic, if you've been in the field, you've been in wildland fire, it's impossible to mitigate all the danger or stay out of the smoke entirely. But through education and being part of the process, the hope is that we can guide some of that, help to guide some of that to a direction that's more realistic, and really just to limit that exposure as best we can. And every day out of the smoke or limiting things by certain percentage, the hope leads to a longer life um, for all the individuals in our community on this call and more time with family and loved ones. So those are a few things that we've been working on and will continue to work on, regardless of any of the changes or uncertainty things, that pop up. But we are committed to that. We're committed to the fire department, and we want to continue to push that forward. So if there's any questions on that, happy to take them at the end of the call. But again, we can't do that without you. So any of this information that you have, as we get it, we'll get out to you. And the hope is that you can share it with, your crew members, with your forests, your districts, and really just get the word out there. And the more folks that are willing to try this, and to test drive some of the new behavioral health programs, the better off we'll be and figure out how we can continue to strengthen and move forward. Thanks everyone for your time. And again, take questions later on in the meeting. Thanks. Back to you, Luke.
Hey, thanks, Dutch. With that, we'll get into the turkey and gravy of this stakeholders meeting, and that's the legislative update, where we're at with the time we have left and what it looks like moving into a new administration. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Jonathan Golden, who's been the legislative director of Grassroots for essentially as long as Grassroots has been around. So, Johnny, take it away.
Hey, thanks everyone. Hope you can hear me just fine. And I don't know if that makes me or Max the turkey or the gravy, so you'll have to let me know after the call. But just want to say thanks to everybody in this organization, everybody that's on the call tonight, and especially Max and Niffy. Thank you guys a lot too for helping us with this. We're all in this together, right? So on that, if you saw the letter that Grassroots and Niffy put out this week, you know that we have built some consensus around that something needs to get done. And that consensus is starting to build slowly with the, waning hours of this Congress, but no one is quite sure yet or what will be done. The way that I understand it, in just conversations, there are two trains moving this year with Congress, maybe the NDAA with some extension of the current continuing resolution and a disaster supplement perhaps attached to that. Recently, the Senate Appropriations Committee held a hearing on getting, a plan in place to move forward with a CR, with a disaster package attached to it. And up until recently, they were about the only body that was acting, but there's now like a few signs coming out of the House that they're willing to take some action. So like earlier this week, the chair of the House Appropriations Committee saying that, he would like to put out a continuing resolution with a disaster relief bill attached to it. And that would include $21 billion, which is included in that a continuation of the pay supplement until a proper budget is passed. And just for, everybody's memory, the budget for this year wasn't passed until, late in February of the beginning of the year. And that's atypical. Typically, we have a budget ready to go sometime around October. But that hasn't been the case recently. So with the House Appropriations Chair signaling that they're willing to move, that's positive, but I'm not quite sure where Speaker Johnson is on that though. And kind of as we all have known, the people paying attention to this issue, you've known that the Senate was always kind of like the easier of the two chambers to get consensus on this, because they have actually understood it and have been grappling with it. And there's frankly just fewer of them. So that really is advantageous when sometimes it's a numbers game. But the fact of the matter is that the next continuing resolution that does get passed by the end of the year, hopefully with that supplement attached to it, could last us all the way into March of 2025. And, that's a long time. I think it's a lot longer than anybody would honestly like to have it, but That's kind of what I've heard, and that also gives the new administration and Congress, the new Congress, hopefully enough time to begin to govern whatever that may look like. Kind of as Bobby indicated, these are just brand new times for us, and so I think that's the best that we can hope for right now is a CR being passed before Congress leaves for the year. But in the meantime, this presents us a new opportunity to introduce, educate, and make allies out of a new crop of elected and appointed officials. And that's something that this organization in particular has done a really good job of doing since day one. And it's really, I think, just kind of a testament to, the folks that are here on this call tonight and the rest of the community that couldn't make it. You guys, we're staying with it. We're staying consistent. Nobody said it was going to be overnight, but year after year, our value to this country and what you guys are doing currently just continues to show itself. So that's about what I have for now. I guess just stay tuned and appreciate all of you. Max?
Hey, thanks, Johnny.
Hey, Max, can I give you a shout out real quick?
Yeah.
I just want to give Max Alonso and the NIFI folks a huge shout out. They've been in DC as recently as last week and are there consistently throughout the year, throughout the calendar year. And there really is nothing that we've seen move forward or possible without the National Federation of Federal Employees under Randy Irwin's leadership and Max's leadership and the folks like Andy Vanderhule, Stephen Gutierrez, and I'm missing a lot of folks and who I'm giving a shout out to. But as recently as last week, those folks were on the ground in DC doing the work. So I just wanted to recognize and thank you, Max, for all of that work and for giving a shit and taking the position you have within NIFI to provide that leadership. So thank you.
Hey, right back at you, Luke. All you guys, Reva, Johnny, Dutch, Bobby. All of you have. I also wanted to give you guys a shout out before I started talking. And I also want to give a shout out to everybody on this call that is a NIFI member. I see a ton of familiar faces and members here, and we can't do this work without membership. It's the only way we can represent, federal wildland firefighters is through our membership. So, there's like AP. He's on here. He's been a freaking member for 20 years, probably, since before I was a member, I think. So, there's just a lot of people that have really helped this move forward. As far as what's going on in DC. It doesn't really matter where you lie on the political spectrum. We were hoping for a kind of a different outcome because we were making a lot of progress. And I'm not saying that I'm a Republican or a Democrat or anything. I'm just saying that we're going to be it's going to be a bit more difficult going into this next 119th, I believe. There's not going to be a lot of guardrails. They're not going to have to negotiate with each other. We did have WFPPA was led by Democrats, so we do get pushback from the other side when you got one side leading a bill. We tried to make it as bipartisan as possible, and I think we all did a really good job of that. I'm more than thankful for all the work that you guys have been doing, Luke and Johnny and Dutch and Reba and all you guys. We would not be as far as we are without this coalition of people. I know that. I can kind of give a background to some of you that don't know who I am. I'm the National Secretary Treasurer of National Federation of Federal Employees. We represent the majority of federal wildland firefighters. There are some areas where we are not covering people. Some non-unionized forests and BLM units and national parks. But I came from the Forest Service myself. I worked in a lot of different programs, fire being one of them. I saw a lot of inequities. And when I got heavily involved with the union, I started working on legislative issues, and ended up working for NIFI as a business rep about 5 years ago. And that was it was the perfect storm for us, because I started and grassroots stood up pretty much within a few months. And next thing you know, I was talking to Luke and a few others, and we were kind of working on some plans. So as you guys know, the pay supplement, the retention bonus, I should say, has been kicked down the road quite a bit. Everybody knows. I think Johnny explained it pretty well. Right now, the way I see it, and this is all speculative, like we can't say, hey, this is how things are going to be, but if we don't get the language from WFPPA attached somewhere, whether it be attached to the CR or a supplemental somewhere, I'm worried that we're not gonna get it through for a bit. I'm being completely transparent and honest, because I do believe that there's going to be major cuts coming to the next budget. And we're kind of an add-on at this point. There's a lot of important things that are probably going to be cut from the next budget. So with that being said, I think we do have a really good possibility of making this happen right now. We've got a lot of traction. We need to keep getting this out. Like anytime you can repost, hey, write a letter to your senator, call your senators. We need to be doing that. Everybody on this call, pick up the damn phone and call your senators. It actually makes a difference. So, I mean, the calls are huge. The letters are big, but calls are really big too. It takes time. It takes that person at the desk, they'll transfer you sometimes. Sometimes they'll write it down. They'll take your information. It actually works. So yeah, that's where we're at. I'm really, really hoping that we can get something attached to the CR, make this permanent, and be done with this retention bonus that keeps us kind of in that limbo that everybody's been stressed about. And I know everybody's just kind of sick of these letter campaigns. I get it. Everybody's like done with it. They're just like, get it done. But this is how we get it done. We got to keep pushing. I'm not going to stop fighting. I know the majority of people on this call are not going to stop fighting for it. If it doesn't work, we're just going to keep pushing. We'll make friends. We'll get those relationships again. But we have to keep pushing, and we all have to do our part. So. I wouldn't mind throwing it off to Andy. Are you on here, Andy Vanderhill? We were all out in DC last week. We're all back home now. I was extremely at the office, and I let Andy and Matt Broussard. Matt Broussard's one of our newer business reps. He is engine captain out of the Angeles and has just come on board. They were hitting the hill pretty hard last week, and I'd like to give Andy he was honestly in person more than I was last week. I hit a few appointments, but not much.
Yeah,
Andy,
I'll keep it quick for you guys. So Friday, Max called me. Can you go to DC? I never say no. It was my fifth week in DC in the last 12 months. I got up Sunday, hugged my kid on his birthday, took him out to breakfast, went to DC. Monday wasn't very busy because we didn't have much time to plan. So we made a bunch of appointments. And then Matthew and I think Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, did about 35 appointments with just two of us. So it's, 9 a day, 10 a day. And then a bunch of walk and talks and just drop offs in offices. The biggest thing I can tell you is that most of the staffers told us they think we're in a good place because of the disaster supplement, which didn't drop until Monday night or Tuesday. We started playing that, and we only worked the Senate because I think everything is on the Senate right now. So, like Max said, with the letters, you guys have friends in New York. Send that letter, writing campaign, whether it's the Neffy or the grassroots, or I would do both. If you have New York friends, send it to New York. I think that's the big key right there. Max, is we hit it hard for a week, and if I have to go back, I will.
Yeah, we do have a meeting with Schumer next week.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll have something a bit more solid to let everybody know next week.
And just a recap, and please fill in John or Max or Andy or anyone. But bright side of all of this is that in House appropriations that was written in by a Republican from Idaho, and that means something. And we've got it on the Democratic side from the Senate. And I would say if we are shooting for anything during this existing administration, this 118th Congress, is Wildland Firefighter Pay Protection Act, pushing for the inclusion of the hazard pay for prescribed fire, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but is in the hands of OPM. Andy and Max, and I believe still on the table is break in service legislation that would extend it from 3 days to up to 24 months, and expanded casualty assistance program and DOI. Again, I think we all know number one priority, Wildland Firefighter Pay Protection Act.
So Luke, if I would add that, and Max, correct me if I'm wrong, we're not talking about the Wildland Firefighter Pay Protection Act bill anymore.
Right.
We're talking about the language that was taken out and then put in other stuff. And as far as hazard pay, yeah, it's still at OPM. I don't have a whole lot of faith because we're at the end of the administration. But there was a congresswoman from Utah who wants to take it up in the next session as a standalone bill. And
Yeah,
Malloy, yeah.
Yeah.
And the break-in service and some other stuff was in Senate E&R markups. I don't know if that's going to pass by January.
Doesn't mean we'll stop pushing.
No, we absolutely will not.
Yeah.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Max. Anything else to add from Niffy before we open it up to Q&A?
Hammer on the letters, man. Hammer on the letters and the phone calls.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
Go ahead, Andy.
I was just in comms. I believe there's an update. I mean, there's a minimum of the equivalent of 20+% of people that have responded to those letters, whether it's Action Network via Niffy or the You Join campaign. And the messaging is the same for all on this call.
Mm-hmm.
This has been a very coordinated effort between all groups. I don't know what that was. I wish I could replicate it. Anyway, I think it's in the 5,000+ at this point. So keep writing in. Anything else to add, Andy, Max, Jonathan, before we go to Q&As? You're muted, Max.
I just wanted to thank everybody again for even being on this call, for all the letters that are going out, for you guys just being the best goddamn partners in this fight. So yeah, I just appreciate everybody here. Thank you.
Thanks, Max. Andy, if I cut you off, any parting words?
No, you're good. We're good.
All right. If I'm not mistaken, we'll open it up to Q&As, which is was the intent of this call, legislative update, and hopefully answer any questions or tell you that we can't answer them, but we'll try.
People can just unmute and ask, or they can type in the chat.
Hello, Randy Cousins here. Yeah, quick question is, what is the exact language that we're passing along, so that way some of us do not get it mispronounced?
Johnny, you want that one?
I think that the question was, it was kind of hard to understand, but I think the question was, what is the exact language that we're hoping to have passed into law? Yeah, and that's just the language that's found in the Wildland Firefighter Paycheck Protection Act that's been essentially placed into the 2020 or FY25, sorry, Interior Appropriations Bill on the House side, and you can find that on congress.gov, and I can or I can throw a link up to it on there, and then yeah, you can read it. But essentially, what we're hoping for.
And I'll just add, because I've learned a lot doing this and I didn't know much before, but every time there's a budget passed by Congress, it's actually a law. So if you hear us talking about law, that's why we're saying that. So the appropriations language that goes into the next fiscal year budget is actually a bill that is proposed then become law. So that's the language we're getting into the appropes. It's not, like they said, it's not the Wildland Firefighter Pay Protection Act or bill anymore. It's the same exact language that has just gone into appropriations, and the Forest Service budget comes down through Interior. So that's why it's in Interior appropriations.
So, Riva, it's Andy, if I may. The language that's in the Interior Appropriations includes everything in WFPPA except for the rest and recovery.
And just to clarify, I mean, the rest and recovery is in the red book and didn't necessarily need to be passed into law because it's been done administratively. Is that correct, Andy?
Exactly. So we were willing to die on that hill without a problem until next time.
We have a question in the chat. If the perm pay is not passed and added as the side addendum, could the next Congress cut the funding for the pay supplement in its entirety?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's a guarantee. So
yeah, that's one of my concerns. That is a big concern of mine. That's why I really want to. This is for me. This is the big push. We want to get this done before the new Congress comes in.
And just some background, and please fill in any gaps I'm missing, but this pay supplement was funded by budget and infrastructure law, and that funding ran out in roughly 2 years. And since then, they have been extending the authority to continue to pay the supplement. It didn't originally come with any authorized dollars.
This to the TV.
Yeah.
Giles, mute. Thanks. Since then, it has come with appropriated dollars to extend it, but we've been working on essentially an unappropriated, unauthorized, and I know I'm saying that wrong, but nobody planned on these CRs and this supplement going this long, and we need to get it done, and we need everyone to get behind it, and this is the time that we need the loudest voices possible, and we need the workforce to come together, say what we need, how badly we need it, explain it, and move it.
Yeah, I mean, there was a pretty good plan, and I know you know this, Luke, but to try to get WFPPA passed while we had that retention bonus in place. It was more of just like the retention bonus was there to get us through until we got WFPPA passed. We thought we were going to get it done a lot quicker. We had a lot of support, and then, as most people know, we got held up in committee. On the House side, it wasn't getting through there. There were some folks that did not want to see that happen. And I'm not going to get into the politics of any of that. But ultimately, we ended up having Simpson from Idaho put it into the interior approach, which gave it a lot. It gave it another steroids in the arm. I mean, you saw a lot more excitement with Republican House members once it was in interior approach. Once it got through the interior approach markup. So
Hey, we got a lot of questions rolling in. If we could get to the questions.
sorry.
We've got one that says, has there been any progress on the GS10 and below PDs in the Forest Service with the Wildland Firefighter series? We were on our monthly call with the Forest Service, Washington office FAM. Was that last week or the week before? And they said that that is going to be rolling out after the first of the year. That's their intent. So that's what they're saying. Another question is, I've heard there might be a reduction in force to cut any excess PSEs. There's no talk of a RIF from what we've been told, but they're going to look at cutting positions through attrition, mostly non-fire, but they're going to look at some places where they can cut some fire positions. It won't be any of the operational, modules or anything like that. Probably be the higher GS levels. But even had we kept the same administration, you all know the temps aren't being hired in non-fire positions. They're looking at having to cut a lot of funding. So that's not expected to change. And then any information to pass along regarding the termination of telework options. We don't have any information on that. We don't even have an appointed Secretary of Agriculture yet. So it's all speculation. So we have no actual information on that. I don't know if NIFI has any.
I'm going to go to the first question that you read off, Reva.
Mm-hmm.
Is Northrop on here? I thought I saw him on here. Yes, no? No? Okay. Sorry. Never mind. I thought he could kind of get into that because I know he's been working on some of the PD stuff and I saw him on here. Andy, do you want to address the PD stuff?
Yeah. It's a mess. We put in hundreds, if not thousands of hours in trying to rewrite PDs. And we sent our letter out when we finally hit our wit's end, and it's just died on the table. It's going to be a cut and paste unless you're an 11 or above. The 11s are now 11, 12, but everybody else is the same. And I think shot soups are going to 10s, and I've heard that maybe battalions are going to 10s, but everybody else is going to stay the same, and it's cut and paste. It was very demoralizing.
Yeah, like I said, there was so many hours put in by a lot of our members and our committee there, and it was supposed to be a joint effort, so it just didn't work out.
No, I'll stay out of the weeds. I mean, I do think that there is intent, and I'll say current intent of current people that are in place. I know that Forest Service soups are going to 10s, essentially following the footprint laid by DOI. And I think DOI has laid a lot of groundwork that now has to be replicated, from what I understand, and that there at least is current intent to continue a longer look at what it looks like from Superintendent GS10s, Battalion Chief GS10s, and what those ripple effects are going down, from the side of the conversation that grassroots has had with agencies. That's just our take on it, to provide both sides of that conversation. And I fully support and am fully aware of the amount of work that NIFI put into those negotiations, the amount of edits, and we are fully on board with what right looks like according to the work that NIFI put into that. So I'd say that's that's still on the to-do list for probably both organizations moving forward. Modernization of position descriptions is absolutely imperative to moving forward with a modernized and recognized workforce.
I wanted to just clarify something that we've been told on the calls with the WO. So even before the election, there was the intent, and that there were going to be hundreds of reductions in the GS-12 and up in fire. So this would be the non-operational fire positions. This was a decision that was made prior to the election. So I know that the regions are putting out there's different directions from the different regions, but I think their intent, and they said that there was not going to be rifts. It was going to be done through attrition, like Riva typed in there, but they didn't rule it out. Now that was for those GS-12s and above, and there's hundreds of them that were added in the last few years. So there's going to be some sizable reductions at that level, and that was pre-election. So I just want to clarify that stuff was going on, and it's going to continue. And hopefully it won't be a reduction in force. It will be done through attrition. There may be some moves, they did expressly say that there would be maybe positions having to move or people having to move. Anyway, that was just a clarification on that one point.
We have a question. What will the new tactics to reach the new administration be? We know they are not fond of the Forest Service. We aren't going anywhere. So what will Grassroots and NIFI be doing new with the next administration? It all sounds really gloomy. However, there has to be a way to get this done with the new administration.
I can speak on NIFI's behalf. I'm not sure how you guys are going to go about things. Probably the same way. We're very bipartisan. I believe we're considered one of the only nonpartisan or bipartisan unions out there. We work with both sides. So this is a bit different, administration. It's going to be a little tougher, I think. I think we're going to be able to work with Congress. I think we're going to we've had Republican Congresses before, and we were able to work with them. So I'm not super worried about it, but what I am worried about is the administration's they want to just cut so much. They're already talking about cutting so much out of the federal government. That's my big worry. So we're just going to have to try to educate them, I guess. I mean, hopefully they'll listen to us. We're going to have to see where USDA and DOI are, after the new secretaries come in and things change. But I think we're going to be able to do we've always been able to work with any administration. Even the last Trump administration, we got attacked quite a bit, but we were still able to work with some of the cabinet.
I'll speak and let anyone else speaks from the grassroots side. I absolutely agree with Max. And from a grassroots side, number one, it's building coalitions and reinforcing those. We've been talking to state and local representatives in fairly high-powered circles, and it's building those coalitions. We have coalitions with the Wildfire Resiliency Coalition, the Alliance for Wildland Fire Resilience. We're working on building it with a variety of chiefs associations, because at the end of the day, when the federal workforce is hurting, there's people that have to pick up that bill. And those people that pick up that bill and pick up that response would much rather be in a system and working with the system with the federal cooperators that they've known to trust and show up with 2 assignments. So we'll continue to build those coalitions, and we'll change our sales pitch as needed to the folks that are in charge. We'll make wildland firefighting great again. And that might be very, very poorly said, but I think that pitch holds water, and there's no one better than the people on this call and the people that show up in green trucks, white trucks with yellow stripes. And federal wildland firefighters have been the backbone of this agency from a type 1 standpoint down to the engines, the heavy equipment, you name it, that show up and respond to all hazards. So our pitch will change, our relationships won't, and the conversations are going to continue, and we'll figure out what holds and what doesn't. But we don't have any other choice but to figure out how to communicate and how to provide intent and how to provide command presence and get this across the board, because it does not work without a fluid and flexible federal wildland workforce.
And I'll jump in on that. When we met with the Washington office fire folks, Bobby and I were on that call. So the new incoming administration always sends transition teams to every agency, every department, and they haven't sent their transition team to the Department of Ag yet. They hadn't anyway. They might be waiting for Trump to name the secretary, but they said they will tell the transition team about grassroots, and they will encourage them to work with us and continue to work with us. And so that's pretty big. Now, the transition team may choose not to, but we're going to reach out to them. So we're going to continue to, try again. We've tried really hard also to be nonpartisan. We tried to be very professional, not to, when we get frustrated, we get frustrated amongst ourselves, but we want to take that high professional road. And we think that will serve us well as we're dealing with a different set of people. So we'll continue to do that, and we'll figure out where our ins and outs are. We got a question about the presumptive cancer risk. It came to me accidentally instead of the group. Has there been any more progress? I'm not sure how we can continue to encourage people with those body parts to come to work. And I did want to tag on to what Dutch said. Just because those cancers aren't covered on presumptive, still file a claim, because that doesn't mean they won't be covered, right? So we're encouraging everybody to file a claim, file your DOL claim. Some of them have still been accepted. And so it doesn't mean people should not file a claim, right? So keep filing those claims. And then, we're sending research that we see to the Department of Labor. And I don't know if you want to go into a little bit more detail, Dutch, about
during our Black Friday sale, save up to 50%
about the latest with the conversations with DOL or OWCP.
Yeah, and Riva, I guess to tag on to that, this the history of this issue is just, it's strange, to say the least. Really, up until the last few years, there were not a ton of cancer claims even coming through, because people did not even think to file a claim because it wasn't correlated. So a lot of this, regardless of the cancer, is still somewhat new. But from everything that we've been hearing, this department has been, or this administration has been, really favorable to those folks filing cancers, because it's the right thing to do. And specifically, even with some of the female cancers that are not covered, some of those have been covered thus far. I believe up to 3 or 4 breast cancer cases are being covered right now. And so there's a lot of folks, both in the DOI and in the Forest Service high up, that are helping to shepherd those cases over to OWCP. And as far as the cancer cases at large, I think over a 95% acceptance rates for all cancers thus far. So I know it's not 100, but I think we're moving forward on that front. And then as far as the work with with Department of Labor and Max, I'll let you jump in as well. But Chris Godfrey, the director of OWCP, has been an advocate throughout this process, even before cancer coverage was a thing, and continues to work on those issues. We have not heard back as grassroots from Chris just yet. And I know, Max, you talk to Chris a little bit more regular. But with that said, I think this letter is probably 3 weeks old, 4 weeks old in the middle of an election. And so, as a matter of fact, about a week ago, we sent out another email, I think a week after the election, a week or two, with more data that had just come out on the connection between breast cancer and firefighting. And I know there's other research that should be coming out here, hopefully within the next month or two, that's tying together some of the causal factors for exposure on wildland fires to cervical, uterine, and ovarian cancers. So we're continuing to pass that along, hoping to hear back soon. And Max, I don't know if you have anything else to add on that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've been talking to Chris a lot lately. Andy and Matt and I, we all went and met with Chris last week. I talked to him maybe once a week about where we're at with things. Right now, Department of Labor is kind of scrambling. I'll be honest. We had a lot of progress, Dutch, and I feel like right now everything's kind of been set to the side, and they're just trying to figure out what they can fix and try to make permanent. The female cancers. That is one of the things that they are working on. I don't know if it'll get done beforehand, if they're going to be able to add that. I will get a hold of Chris after Thanksgiving here and see where they're at with that. There's a lot of bureaucracy there. It's a federal agency, so I think we all understand how that works. But I'll say it's not going to be. I'm hopeful that the next 4 years is going to be good there, but it's not going to be like it was. We had a real advocate for wildland firefighters as the director of OWCP. I mean, that man came out and met with a lot of our employees and members out there. He went and watched. He watched multiple programs. He went out to Flagstaff. He went to Missoula. He came to California. He's seen what's going on. Actually, he was just asking about you, Dutch. He wants to go up and meet with you up in Northern California at some point before he leaves, just to try to touch base and anyways. Yeah, I think there's a possibility to get a few things done, but it's going to change drastically in the next 4 years.
Understood, Max. No, I appreciate the connection there, and yeah, look forward to chatting with Chris here at some point. And yeah, I guess with that said, per Reva's point, I just want to highlight it once again. But if you're in doubt, file a claim, even if it's not on the list, and that that also pertains to even claims around behavioral or mental health. While I know it is a burden anytime you're filing a claim or going through something really hard and then having to go through another process. It's not ideal, but it's really important to trying to continue to push these issues forward. And like I said, from what we're hearing, things have been favorable. Per one of the earlier messages about what the future holds, sometimes it doesn't feel like we have maybe the leverage we did, but I would say some things have not changed. We still have, between DOI and Forest Service, the largest fire department in the world. And fires are not getting any smaller. And we've seen them wipe out communities and towns. And quite frankly, it's not something that can be ignored, not by the public, not by communities. And I think that's something we need to continue to focus on. It's what we've done all our careers. We've protected people, we've protected communities, and we've protected the land. All we're asking for is that, should we get hurt on the job or get cancer, have cardiovascular, that we're covered. And as far as everything else, we're just going to continue to work forward with the hand that we're dealt, and hope that those issues can speak loudly as we continue to move forward. But we're not going to stop fighting. Business as usual. That's all I have, Luke.
I saw, well, maybe it was just a rhetorical question. Yeah, I'd say, I mean, we'll open it up. If you want to speak up, then please unmute or put it in the chat. We can give it 5 minutes. If we're not getting any more questions, then we'll hang it up for tonight. This call will be recorded, will be posted. And I can't, we're stepping into Thanksgiving in a couple days, and I just want everyone to know, like, I mean, I don't work for any federal agency anymore. I am here. A lot of us are here because our fire family and the people that we've dedicated thousands of hours to, and hundreds, if not thousands, of operational shifts have left indelible mark on us as people. And we're here because our fire family means as much to us as our families. I used to stand in front of hotshot crews and tell them that I was putting my family to the side for the next 6 months, and I was putting my fire family up front for the fire season, and else would take the back seat. And that holds true. And grassroots is a voice for you, and if we're not doing it right, then we want to hear it, and we'll adjust, adapt, and like Dutch said, we'll keep moving forward. Andy put in the chat, put that letter around the Thanksgiving table. This is the 5th, I think, going on 6th year at Grassroots, and I've done that for multiple Thanksgiving Day campaigns. So please put your phone around the table and get everyone that you're sitting with to put their name in and zip code and send that sucker in.
Definitely. I mean, they don't have to have any, but they don't have to be firefighters. They can be your neighbors, they can be your friends. Send this thing out. Your family, your kids, your wife, as many people as we can get to inundate these computers and these phones in the Senate, the better.
So if I could add one thing, Max and Riva and everybody, when we were on the Hill last week, we mentioned that we were going to have this campaign going, and every staffer said that's good. We'd love to see those letters. We'd love to see people wanting something. So hammer down. They're expecting it. I told them it was coming, so please do it.
Yeah, and if you want to make a phone call, do it after hours. You get their voicemail. If you don't really want to talk to anybody, because they may not get to your email in the inbox, but they're going to get to the voicemail.
That's a fantastic point. I think we're at the point now where both is good, but phone calls are probably a little better because of the short time span. Because the Senate especially gets a lot more emails and it takes a while to get through them. So do both.
Yeah, but I'll say I've sat in an office and watched campaigns come in from districts and from states, and it works. They sit there, they tally it up. especially when it's on a vote. It's a little different on this. But they tally it up, they talk to the senators and the congressmen, and it really works. I know people don't think it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference.
Nobody's eating any turkey at my house until they sign.
Yes.
Shotgun in the gravy. All right. We're sitting at that 5 minute mark. Again, I just want to thank everyone for spending the time to jump on this call. I want to thank NIFI again for taking part and providing their legislative updates, and just kudos to the amount of work. Andy said it. He's been, what's your day job, Andy? Or can you even say it?
I don't care. I'm a battalion chief and I'm the newly elected Forest Service Council president.
Yeah. So NIFI is primarily built of you and for you. They are the tool. You are the people wielding it. I'd say the same is true for grassroots. So use us. If we're not doing it right, let us know. Thank you all. You are loved, and grassroots is here to be a voice, and hopefully we're the voice you want, and hopefully we're the voice that works for other people. We don't hold information hostage. We're all volunteers. We work with folks like NIFI because they are the powerful people in the conversations that we're never going to be in, and they are your biggest advocates from that angle. We'll keep building them. We'll keep doing the work. And thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Hey, thank you, Luke. And thanks everybody for being on here. Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Safe.
Thanks.
Thanksgiving all.
Hi, Rita. How are you?
Good. How are you,
It's
Ron?
I'm well. It's good to see you.
You too.
I'm retiring.
Good for you.
Yeah, so I'll have time if you guys need any help with anything.
Our communications team always needs help.
Whatever. So I'm happy to help, and I'll have the time.
Okay.
So
We're
free
gonna
labor.
we're gonna hold a big board meeting in January and kind of look at some next steps. So yeah.
Okay, good.
All right. Thanks, Ron.
Yeah, be well.
You too.
Thank you.
God, I can't believe people are still paying for WFSA. Like,
I know.
where's it going?
Yeah, I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, cool. Are you traveling for TG?
Yeah, we're going, which it'll be good. My grandma's 86 or 87, so all the grandkids and great grandkids are gonna
That's cool.
have a good Thanksgiving with her.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. She's been taking notes. I want to record her life.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you heard of StoryCorps on NPR?
No.
They do these little oral interviews and they put them at the Smithsonian.
Oh, maybe I'll look at the format so I know how to kind of frame it.
Yeah, it's all kinds of stuff, right? It's pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, good on you for traveling. I hate traveling at Thanksgiving.
If it wasn't, she just went into assisted living, and it's like she's getting up there. So I don't know.
Mom's mom or your dad's mom?
Dad's.
Nice.
So
Hey, the ghost of Jerry Garcia was on the call. Nice.
that's awesome. I hope he found a finger.
All right. I'm gonna end it.
Okay. See you, Riva. Have a good turkey day.
So, see ya.